These cars are great cars. Little tires grip like crazy. They do have a silver magnet there, which is a little bit stronger. These here just take and pull straight out. If you pull them out, the brushes will take and come out, and then when they go back in, which is real hard to see, see if I can do this. When it goes back in, that clip just goes up into place and locks in, and it's right there. So that's kind of nice. They just slide in and out. Makes it pretty simple for anybody really to take and change the brushes. The motor is about the same width as a Carrera or SCX slot car motor as far as 1/43rd, but it is a little bit longer. I don't think it does it's not a whole lot of difference. It's just a design, the way they took and made it. But one thing for sure is with the Carrera cars versus the Arton, this is just an example, you can notice how much taller and how much more room that motor takes when it comes to, you know, from the ground up. All right, so what does that allow a person to take and do? Now, even though this Carrera car and SCX cars, okay, this particular one does not have a crew inside or anything like that, where you can see the steering wheel and all that, but the capability is absolutely there because why? You have lots of room. With the Arton car, there's just not enough room to take and do it simply because that motor is just way up in the air. So if Arton reduced the size of the motor and made it more of a pancake closer to this here, they could also take and do that very easily, and that's basically the bottom line why they haven't. But these motors are extremely durable and they kind of last forever. Carrera, only one I have, and you'll notice I'm kind of wondering about these two companies, and I gotta say I believe anyway that these two motors could be exchanged one to the other side. And the reason I say that is they're the same size as far as measuring them, and the catches right here at the very back are exactly the same. The only difference in the two cars is this one here, the Carrera, kind of comes up from the very back and clips onto that there hole on each side of the motor, and this one here, the SCX, just clips to the side. Now, even though it clips to the side and this to the back, the bottom line is the motor is designed exactly the same. So it kind of makes you wonder if the companies are kind of a little closer to kin than what they want us to believe. This particular car right here is an Arton car. I'm going to take and use it as a guinea pig today. The one thing that I wanted to take and go through with the cars as far as the Arton cars, the other cars I only have one of each, and I bought those just to take and do these displays and verify how they work on the Arton tracks and with different transformers and such. So the rest is going to take and be a little bit of maintenance about Arton cars. And now I should be able to set this camera down, maybe, and get it aimed the right way here. Okay, let's just see if I can make that work. Now, I'm going to do some of it, you know, of course you can pause this video, but I'm going to do some of it. I don't want to take a whole lot of your time, I already have, so I apologize for that. But you just find that screw. Most of them only have one. A few of the older ones will have two. Just a Phillips head screw, nice and small. And what you'll find out is a lot of times right here and here, there's little catches that take and catch the side of the frame. Now, when you take and pull it out, you can take and do this and just tilt it a little bit, or, you know, if you just pull up on it, it's not wanting to come out. So just tilt it a little bit, and then it should come right out. And what you'll find, this particular car, I've already installed an LED bulb. I took away the idea of the bulb burning out on a higher voltage, okay? Now, one thing for sure is these cars, okay, even though the car itself might take and have a shorter or longer wheelbase, one thing for sure is these front axles on all the Arton cars that I've found, what you'll see is 3 axle positions there. You can see the holes where you can take and make it longer or shorter. Now, and that basically will take and allow you to take and shorten up the wheelbase quite a bit, or make it in the middle, or if I can get it back in the hole there, all the way up to the front, and that will take and fit, you know, different models of the Arton cars. Now, replacing tires is pretty simple, really. Most of the time you just take and pull them off like that. Some of them will come off a little harder. Now, if you put them on and the tire for some reason is just not, doesn't look right, you might have just stuck it on backwards. So just take and pull it back off, okay, turn it over, and try to line it up on that groove and get it to take and, you know, pull up. Now, I'm doing this on purpose, but you can see where it's not fitted up against the rim. So just work with the rubber a little bit, and then, you know, just double check to make sure it went on, and that's pretty much it. The same thing with the back tires, okay? Now, replacing one of these motors. Now, these cars, all right, are all pretty decent cars as far as that goes. I think I'm going to use this one over here to experiment a little bit more on, but you'll see that the Arton cars, all right, have these little knobs or notches right here in the motors. Now, and that's what they look like right here. It's right there, okay? When the motor is setting in place, okay, it uses these here clips and it to hold the motor in place, and it kind of pops into place. Now I'm going to pop this one out. Now the easiest way to take and do it is like this here, pulling up underneath the motor just a little bit. And the reason I say that is if you look at those clips and you start prying on them too much, all right, even though that's the way it's designed, you can break those clips off. Now it's not the end of the world if you do, but the clips are broken and you can't replace them. So you take and do that to the motor, and the motor will simply give you a hard time, and do the other side the same way, and it should just come right out, okay? Just that simple. Now you'll look down here, and these here brass tabs that stick down through there, all right, is where the motor makes contact from the track itself. And you can see that the motor has the contacts here and here. So when you put the new motor in, you want to take and have those contacts down, facing down, place it into the hole, and push a little bit down, and then just click, okay? Now that one there, none of those clips broke or anything, but there will be times where you take and break one, okay? Now I'm going to break this one. See, it's not even wanting me to break it. It's being evil. So we're going to break it off on purpose. And the reason I'm doing that is because in real life, some of these cars are pretty darn old, and if these here break off, all right, what happens is when you go to use the little motor or use the car, the motor will start moving, and then, but that, you can see that motor slides right back and forth, right? It's like, oh no, what am I going to take and do? You know, you're trying to think of tape and everything else. Well, there's an easy way to take and do it, and I set it up this way, and I did this on purpose because I've had a couple people that have told me, hey, you know what, the clips are broken, do I need to replace the whole chassis? Most times not, but what you can take and do is use a hot glue gun, all right? And you're not getting crazy with the hot glue. All you want to take and do is just push that motor into place to where it's supposed to be, and just put a dab here, just enough to take and, you know, coat both surfaces a little bit, and a dab on this side, all right? Now, hot glue is, you know, you got to take and be careful because, you know, you can burn yourself. That stuff is hot. So don't let the little guys and the little girls take and mess with that. Because it will take and burn their little fingers. It'll burn ours too. But you can see that I didn't hardly put any there, okay? Now hot glue usually takes and cools off pretty quick, but one thing I can guarantee you, those little spots of hot glue on both sides, that motor is not going to move on you, okay? And it's, again, it's not the end of the world, because if you need to take that motor out, that hot glue will pop loose, and you'll be able to take and put another motor in there if that's the case, and that's what you need to do. Now, sometimes people like to take them all apart, and they're going to change the wheels, and you know, they're going to take and put wide ones on the front or narrow ones. Now sometimes, most times, you can grab it, and you can grab those rims and twist them back and forth, and they'll come off. And let's just say you're going to put it back on, you moved your axle, and you're done, okay? But there are times where you have to take and get a pair of pliers or use some leather gloves and hold it and give it one heck of a twist to take and get it to pop loose. But that's how you would take and do it. Now you could reach in here maybe with a pair of pliers and hold it that way, but you're still going to take and have to grab onto these metal or these plastic rims. So anyway, the back ones are kind of the same, except for you got a gear to take and deal with. All right, you got to get this gear to take and slide as you pull it off, so that can be a little bit more tedious, if you will. Now, one good thing about it, and that's why I sell a lot of complete chassis, is, you know, this here particular gear and changing this rear axle is a pain in the butt. It's the same thing as the other, and you may take and get away with taking and just grabbing and twisting. You'll probably get one axle or one rim to take and come off, but the other one will still stay. So you'll reach in there maybe with a pair of pliers, hold the axle while you're twisting this one, even if you have to hold it with another pair of pliers to get it to break loose. You know, stick on your wide wheels, etc., etc. If your axle is bent for some reason, somebody stepped on it by accident, that's a little bit different story. Then you're going to have to replace the entire assembly. But that crown gear, okay, is exactly the same for every art and car that I've come across anyway, the standard cars. So one size fits all when it comes to that size there. Not a whole lot of differences underneath these cars either. They're designed basically, you know, you got your front guide pin right here, and you know, your brushes or your contacts or braids. Then you got your magnet that can take and come off if you need it to. It shows a little bit of the gear as far as it goes now, and it's got a hole there and stuff, and I don't suggest trying to oil it or anything like that through there, because it'd just make a mess. If you really actually think it needs it, you need to pull the cover off and kind of inspect it. And you just want to put a little bit in there. You're not one to take and douse it, and you don't want to use the type of oil that will take and just run all over the place. Here is your, you know, right here, if you get one that's squeaking for some reason, that's where you take and might put a little drop there and a drop on this side, and then basically move this back and forth and see if you can get it to work into it. Same thing with the front, but it's a little bit simpler. Now, there's a lot of different ways to take and change the brads on this. Okay, you can pull the front axle like that, and you can take and reach in there, and you'll notice that the tabs are just bent over. There's one here, bent over this way, and one here, bent over the other direction. Some of it you may not be able to see, but I just put that screwdriver up under that tab and bend it up. Okay, when I do that, on the other side, the brad comes out. When you go to take and put the next one in there, the one thing you have to notice is that the holes that brad the clips go into, okay, have to line up. If you don't have them lined up, they won't take and go into place correctly, and it can be a pain holding it with your fingers trying to get that thing to bend over. All right, get the back one first. It's usually the easiest, and then take and do the front one and push it back down. Now, you're going to have to do that no matter how you pull off the brad, but if you just want to take and pull them off and do it quickly, you can take and just grab it here. You're not wanting to take and jerk like crazy. You just want to take and do it. Pull back a little bit, all right? All right, pull back and then go forward, and it comes right out, all right? Now, in order to take and get that same brad back in there, you're going to have to straighten these up to where it can go back in there and go into the holes again. The holes will be your only enemy on that. Otherwise, it's pretty simple. But they do wear out. So if the brads wear out on your car, that's what you're going to end up doing. It's not the end of the world. It's pretty simple to do, and most times brads are pretty inexpensive. And even though you would do all this, you could do all this maintenance to the art and cars. Once again, that's why I sell the chassis as least expensive as I can. A person could take and grab another chassis, put it on another car. The only difference maybe would be the size of the wheels or where the front axle sits. So that gives you lots of options. All right. Now the guide pin right here. Okay. To get it out, you can take and from this side, you just simply. Whoops, let me get that right. You can just push on it right here, just a corner of a screwdriver. You'll hear it click when it moves. All right. And on the other side, it'll be pushed up like that, and basically it's just a round guide pin. Now, to put it back in, of course, there's a hole. Not trying to be funny or anything. Just put it in there and push on it till it goes flush again, and it's done. As simple as that again. Now, I mentioned about the motors. That motor is in there with the hot glue. Okay, it's not coming out. It's not moving. This car will take and run fine, even though both of the clips were broken on both sides. Okay, the only other thing that I wanted to mention is the second guide pin, and it's just a simple change. Now, this art and car is one of the ones that I did it. In fact, this is the first one I think I did it to, and I still run this thing. This is about 3 years old, but it's got two guide pins in here. This is not a Deegan car, even though I have a silver magnet on there now that I put on there. It has a guide pin in the front, which is the standard one, and then one in the back, which is just like it. But there is no hole in the standard art and car chassis, all right? So, like some of the tune-up kits I have, it explains that you need to use a 3/32 drill bit, all right? Well, in order to take and do that, you get your drill bit and all, but you need to be very, very careful. And the reason I say is lots of reasons. You're using a power tool. You're getting ready to take and drill on something. You may hold it like this, like a lot of people will take and do, but if you slip, you can maybe hit your fingers and such. Now, I want to put it down there and let's see if I can make this camera do anything. Whoops. Pain in the butt. All right, let's see here. Okay. Now, I'll pick it up a little bit, and what we're wanting to take and do is drill the hole right there. But what you'll notice is you can see that the shaft for the motor itself is right above that, okay? Now that means two different things. One, if you turn this thing over, what you'll see is the plastic gear. Now when you're drilling, if you're very good at it, okay, no big deal. But if you're not positive that when you go through this plastic with this drill bit that you're not going to be able to stop, you need to take and remove the motor out of the way first, getting this here pinion gear out of the way. All right. Now, hopefully, for the illustration, I won't take and do it, but I'm just simply going to take and drill the hole. Close to the center is that area that I can, and just take and ease into it. Use a variable speed drill. It goes right in, no problem. It doesn't take much. All right. Now, the guide pin is just like the one that's in the front. The only difference is, and again, because it has that gear right there, is the distance. Let's see here. Where's my hands? There we go. How long those are. Okay, so this is a standard guide pin, what sticks up into the front, but in the back you need to take and trim that just a teeny bit, and let's see if I can get them in one hand. Not a lot, maybe just a teeny. It's just a teeny bit, and that's the best reference I can give you. You're just kind of knocking off the tip a little bit, right? But it's better to take and do a little and not too much. And there goes the phone, and I'm going to ignore it. So after you've got that clipped, you take and line it up to the hole, and you just, right there at the back where I drilled it, and push it in, okay? And it'll be tight, but that's what you want. And that's the reason you use the 3/32. And what you don't want to take and do is when you're drilling into it is move that drill bit around. You don't need it any bigger. Now, if you use the wrong size or you get that drill bit moving around a lot, this will be a little bit loose. Now, that's tight right now. It's not going to come out while you're racing it and such. But if you need to, you can put just a little bit of glue under it to take and hold it in place. So basically that car is turned into a 2 guide pin car. It will take and handle the curves a whole lot better. With this magnet, okay, it's not holding it down to the track like the silver magnets do. But the bottom line is you'll have a lot of fun with this car simply because it's going to take and hold. It's not going to fishtail around the corners as far as that goes, and you'll be able to take and hold the track a little bit better. Now, that pretty much takes care of the second guide pin. Now, one thing I wanted to take and mention is the digging cars, okay? Now, this particular digging car is one of the older ones, and it doesn't have a silver magnet, it's black. But it is absolutely a digging car. Now, what you can see is, real hard to see that, but you can see the little T at the end of those guide pins, okay? And what that means is when that car is going around a digging track, it has the grooves, okay, but on those grooves there's just a little bit of a 2 little ledges, okay, on the track, and your guide pin goes up and through there, right? And when you go into a curve or one of those loops, a lot of times the guide pin will lock into that groove, and it doesn't matter if you stop dead center. It's just not going to fall off because of those T's. Now, here's the problem. If you take and have a car or have a digging track that has, those grooves in the curves and the hoops, then the problem is going to be is if you put on a regular Arton car with a round instead of a slat, you'll notice that these here are a lot thinner, even though they're teed off. At the very bottom, they're about the same size, but these here are thicker. So what's going to happen is this car is going to go zipping down, and all of a sudden it's going to hit the curve, and it's just going to stop because it's not thin enough to do that. So if you have that happening, that's exactly what's going on, okay? You can change that by simply putting a digging guide pin in the front, and the back one is not designed for a digging, but you could probably take and drill a hole and try the same thing there. That would take and let the car run. Let's see here. Now I sell the rare earth magnets, and I want to take and try to wrap this up. I've already been talking forever. But if you get a screwdriver and pop it up under there, right, it'll take and pull that black magnet off. And these magnets here are extremely strong, so they're kind of a pain in the butt to work with sometimes. Now, they're together here, and what we want to take and do no matter which car you take and have it, is that's about how they need to lay. Okay? Now I just popped them on there. There's no glue or anything, but you want to take and use more of a bond